welcome to Caribbean. My name is Denise Erskine. This is the first in a series of programs where we take a look at the social and cultural aspects of Caribbean people. On this segment, we examine the annual Labor Day Parade on Eastern Parkway in Brooklyn, New York. Attracting more than 1 million people each year, this event is the highlight of Caribbean cultural activity in North America. But how does it happen? And what is its future?
Labor Day, Labor Day, Labor Day on Eastern Parkway. Labor Day, Labor Day, Labor Day, they going crazy. See them jumping, see them prancing, man and woman, just romance.
Try to bring a mass that is inexpensive. We are cheaper than the rest of the bands on the parkway and just as beautiful. The purpose of that is during the year we have parties and functions and stuff like that where we make our money. Labor Day we give it back to the people. Like the kids do not pay to play in our band. This year we had a cover charge of $2, which was just to help out. But they never pay. You know, last year we had over 900 kids played free. It's been, you know, part of the culture. We want to encourage them. We also encourage kids to come here during the season and see how mass is made. If they want to work on their own costumes, you know, help them out. They help themselves. Because, I mean, 900 kids is not easy to make costumes for them. The name Borokid comes from way back in time, which is, the meaning really is like half donkey, half man. That's the myth they have about it. And it was originated in Trinidad. And since we all have been living in Trinidad for some time, playing for Borokid in Trinidad and migrated here, we decided to continue the tradition in New York City. Like the first year we came out with a costume black and white, which entailed paint, a lot of paint, but with costumes. Before that, you would get paint without costumes. Now, we started off like 75 before we were organized, and the year we became organized, we had over 500 people in the band. The second year, believe it or not, we had over 2,500 people. Last year we had over 3,000 people. And this year we had pretty close to 2,000 people. The first year we had all the costumes made at the mass camp. That's because we had not so many people in the band. But then we realized that the band was growing and we had to hire help. So over the years, we have developed a system where we would start making the costumes very early. Most bands start in the month of August, pretty close to Labor Day, like 2-3 weeks before. We start in June. This year, we anticipated a large crowd, and we started even earlier than June. And coming down, we hired the necessary help, for the various parts of the band. But one thing that makes people will think you bring in 2,000 masqueraders, we have to make 2,000 costumes. We don't. Sections are being given out to people on the outside. We call section leaders. Now, for instance, this year we had 21 sections designed. 11 was done by the mass camp. The rest was given out to section leaders, which means that these section leaders take the drawing with our supervision and make the costumes at their camps, their homes. The costumes that we keep for the mass camp here is the ones that we make. Now, parts of the costume for all the section is made here, which is the standards, so we'll keep it, uniform. The other costumes that are not made here, we supervise very closely to make sure that the theme is being carried out in the proper way and the costume is being made as close to the picture as possible. The kids is always, what should I say, we get a lot of help for the kids. Parents come here and offer help to make costumes. This year we didn't have much of that because of the workload we had with the adults. So the kids' costume this year was reduced maybe to about 300 kids. We hope to do something better for the kids next year. If we start earlier, we will know how to move with them. Being a designer entails like getting a theme for the coming year. It also means going to the libraries and any place you can get information on your theme and try to portray the theme as close as possible to what it really is. The theme is determined more or less by me and is approved by the whole committee. The same thing goes with the designing. I do the designing, the committee approves it or disapproves. There are changes to be made, we get input from everybody after there's design, We try to get everybody involved. After the theme has been approved by the committee, by the Burkit members, I get on pen and paper and color and do sketches. Now that will give our artists an idea of what I want. We work very closely together. That is Mr. Sibaran, and he comes up with a final drawing. It is something that is more or less teamwork to get it done, on the final edition for the wall, to put up on the wall so that people can see. Take the sketch drawings and
put them in a way where the mass player or the interested mass player would see it and grasp at the particular picture that they are looking at. And it is done in a way whereby the organization with investment will benefit, plus the masquerader. A costume could be done by one person, but here costumes are handled differently. Someone does the cutting, someone does the mounting, and various people do the fringes like the braids and the little bugle beads and things like this. All the trimmings are done by someone else. Another part of it, the hats are done by someone else, standards by someone else. No set person has a particular thing. At that point in time, where you are needed, you are placed. I stay in the band, watch the band, watch how the sections are looking, look for mistakes so they could be corrected in the next year. And in the final analysis, I get a satisfaction where I feel comfortable that I have contributed to this. And I feel joyful that this is Borokit. This is what Borokit represents, and I am part of it. I have been doing this from a very young age, before the teens, but I just do it for fun. As a youngster in Trinidad, around the older guys, go for this. You have to start somewhere. So you either go to buy rum, buy the beers, or buy something to cook. And they will chance you with a piece of material to cut, or with a pliers to cut some piece of wire, and you start from there. You keep building until you reach somewhere. That's all it is. I just get a sense of doing something from my culture in a foreign land where other people who don't have the opportunity to travel home, travel to Trinidad for Carnival, so they can see it here. Something close or even better than in Trinidad. I am of the opinion children should be taking a greater part. Not just playing, but keep this thing going. Get involved in making, in like something like a school project. Give them a storybook to read and a piece of paper and some crayons. Let them draw something. I give them ordinary brown paper to make a pattern, scrap cloth, and assist them from there. And they will blossom out sometime. This is how I think. And it should be done like that right through. That's going to keep the culture going here. Because it's dying. Because after the older heads go, that's it.
Platoon number 1. Rip it up. Cuenta mi chibatalla, so they got an invasion to create their own
This is the largest celebration by African people anywhere outside of the continent of Africa. And it takes a lot of energy, a lot of organizational ability to put together a spectacle of this magnitude. So very often a lot of people make criticisms of the Carnival Committee, but they should take into consideration the fact that it takes a lot of organization, a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment to put together this type of spectacle. So I have paid tribute and I have celebrated this fact. What I have lamented is the fact that this energy and creativity is not translated into other spheres of human endeavor. For example, we do not see a similar effort made to organize Caribbean American or African American clubs in the borough of Brooklyn. I happen to have lived for a long period of time in Flatbush Avenue and Farragut Road. And in my area, there is no political club that is largely populated by people of African descent. Almost all of the clubs in that area are run by Caucasian people. There's a very strong club in Canarsie. Then there is the club, Mel Miller's Club in the Midwood area. Then there was a club in the Flatbush area where I lived. It's now moved to another part of Flatbush, largely peopled by Caucasians. And apart from Maurice Glum's club in Crown Heights, there are no other African American or indeed Caribbean American clubs. So what I have lamented is the fact that we have so many social and cultural organizations in the Caribbean community. We have over 300 of them. We have such a large spectacle, and yet we do not even have a political club we can call our own in almost any part of Brooklyn, particularly in the central Brooklyn area that is peopled by people of Caribbean descent. Political clubs are one aspect. Another aspect is just ongoing political activity. People will go, for example, to by the hundreds of thousands to a carnival spectacle. But when you have a political event, if you have 10, 15, 20 people, you've got a large crowd. So we don't see that same type of enthusiasm manifested in the political sphere as we see manifested in the cultural sphere. One of the things that the Carnival Committee could do, since it obviously already has an ongoing activity, is to introduce into the Carnival itself certain political elements. For example, voter registration floats. I think this year the Caribbean Action Lobby did have a float symbolizing voter registration. You could have, for example, a march by political officials. You could have slogans and symbols and so forth. People dressing to symbolize certain political activities. Years ago, for example, I remember South Africa, when South Africa was in the front pages, there was a mass that portrayed certain aspects of life in South Africa. So I would like to see the mass men and so forth dedicating a mass to represent certain aspects of our political struggle. I mean, it's great to see people representing sailors, people representing the Incas, people representing ancient Egyptians, ancient Romans, ancient Greeks. I mean, this might be great from a cultural point of view. I would like to see people representing more politically relevant issues, such as the struggle in South Africa, such as the struggle in the United States here, certain aspects of the black struggle. I would like to see not only Calypsonians singing about it and steel band men playing about it, as they have done, but I'd like to see mass men actually putting people in costumes to depict certain aspects of that struggle. A good example of the introduction of political themes in cultural events is, for example, the Irish American Day Parade, where the last time the parade was led, the Grand Marshal of the parade was the mother of Joe Doherty, who was a political prisoner. And if you looked at that parade, you will see elements of the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, being represented. So increasingly, the Irish American Day Parade has been assuming a political complexion and political themes. If you go to the Puerto Rican Day Parade, for example, you will see almost all the Puerto Rican elected officials there in floats representing with their constituents marching behind them. it is a very political kind of spectacle. And if you go to the African American parade as well in Harlem, you will see aspects of the black struggle being represented. So therefore, a lot of other groups, other ethnic groups, other cultural groups, use their parades, use their cultural events to represent certain aspects of their political life. And I think what the Carnival Committee should do is to move away from this historical dependence on Carnival as being a reflection of Carnival in Trinidad, as being merely an expression of joy and jubilation, and seriously think of converting it into a quote-unquote Americanized version, which will still remain faithful to its historical antecedents in Trinidad, but which will incorporate certain features of our American experience, such as portraying political themes, portraying African American experiences in this country, portraying Caribbean American experiences in this country. I would like to see nothing better, for example, than an entire mass band representing Marcus Mosiah Garvey and his followers. As you know, one of the greatest mass men, so to speak, in a serious sense, was Garvey. And in the 1920s, when he put on a carnival, when he put on a convention, it was attended by sometimes 500,000, 750,000 people. Now, I would like to see something portraying historically the Garveyite movement. I would like to see that demonstrated. It would be a tremendous historical education for a lot of our young people. I would like to see a mass band portraying the Soweto uprising, portraying those brave South African young men who shed their blood in the tremendous struggle. I would like to see somebody portraying Martin Luther King and that whole struggle in the South. I would like to see, in other words, these historical themes, these very contemporary historical themes being represented in the carnival. I think if that is done, we will have not only a demonstration of joy and celebration, but we will have a very important historical lesson being taught to our children.
We try not to get into politics. We know that it is important in America here, but we try not to get into it. We want to keep the people happy on the parkway, free. As you know, the word Borokeet in America means mass, which is a sort for masquerade, a good time. And this is our main and only purpose in bringing a band, so that people will have something to put on which they're happy with, and they go out there and have a good time, enjoy themselves all day long.
Latest fashion, anything to get attention, wearing them G-string tighter than a donkey copra. Girl, you ain't nothing but a teaser, a dirty, dirty teaser. I love your reggae, love your soca, but you ain't nothing but a teaser.
you enjoyed our show. Please join us next week at the same time for another segment of Carabeats. I am Denise Erskine.